Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of Real Estate Success Stories. This is actually an interview I've been wanting to do for quite some time with a good friend of mine. We met about 4.5 years ago on an investment forum website that some of you guys may know called Bigger Pockets. Here with me today, the owner and CEO, co-CEO of NXT Mortgage, Tyler Hodgson.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So let's go ahead and get started with your backstory.
Well, let's see. I was born in Canada, moved to Texas at a young age when I was 7. So I claim Texas, U.S. citizen now. As you know, I served in the Marine Corps, similar to you. But actually before the Marines, take a step back and tell you a little bit about my pre-Marine career, because I don't even think you know some of those backgrounds. So I actually graduated high school a year early. 3 years in high school instead of 4. I took an extra night class. I took some AP classes, and so got really good grades through high school. And when I went to college, my first year, right after high school, people say, okay, go to college. Cool, that's the next step. I'd considered going in the military, but everyone encouraged me to go to college because I was smart. So I went to college and I started getting burnt out on school, skipping classes, not really studying because I didn't need to study in high school, and ended up getting pretty bad grades my first year. And that's when I actually dropped out of college. I was working like part-time jobs and minimum wage jobs, and couldn't get myself out of credit card debt, and ended up at that time joining the Marines and did one tour, one enlistment in the Marine Corps.
So I have a question just for some of the folks out there, maybe they're high school kids, getting into their later years of high school. I know me personally as an athlete, I feel like I was hounded by individuals to, join the Marine Corps, join the Army, or, join any branch of service they possibly could. I know back in that day, they would essentially accept anyone at that point. I know I went to MEPS with an individual that was chugging a bunch of, I think it was cranberry juice, just to flush his system of any kind of drugs and whatnot he was doing. But do you remember that at all? Good question. Do you know, or I guess was that kind of how, the military was brought to you? Did you have, folks in your life that were, prior service or in the military yourself? Or where did the military really come from for you?
Yeah, so I think our generation, obviously, we grew up with 9/11 and the war in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq. So those were key moments in our childhood growing up. So I just kind of saw the military as something I looked up to. Probably also because I was born in Canada and came as an immigrant, that I felt like I had to earn my place here in this country. But nobody in my family had military history in the U.S. or in Canada. So it's kind of something where I'm first generation military, and one of my best friends, JP Goski, you know him, his older brothers were in the military, so I kind of looked up to them growing up. So I think they had some influence, but nobody was really pressing me or telling me I had to go join the military. So I was sort of self-motivated to go do that.
Okay. Good to go. So where did, the entire interview we're going to do here is really what got you from where you were in your life, early childhood, going to high school, and then building one of the most successful mortgage companies in the state of Texas. So after you joined the military, really what took you from there?
Yeah, so when I was in the military, I decided I want to get out, go back to college, and pursue a degree in accounting and finance. I've always had an interest in business, and I knew that accounting was very important to have a solid business financial background. So even when I was younger, before the military, I always saw myself owning a company or being a CEO of a company. I had kind of those dreams and visions, but I never knew what kind of company or how I wanted to start a company or, just climb the corporate ladder. So
this is actually just a comment for a lot of the folks out there that do watch my channel. I am the complete opposite where, and I just want to motivate people out there that don't necessarily have the CEO mindset. So you're saying, from childhood, from middle school, from high school, when did you have that mindset as far as like you wanted to own a company? Because for me, I went to high school, I went to college, and I was not an entrepreneur. I was not someone that, had any idea of how to run a business.
Yeah, I'd say even middle school age is probably around when I...
So really, if you're looking to start your own business, don't feel like you have to have that mindset or mentality that, hey, I'm a go-getter, I'm someone who's, a young entrepreneur. Like, if you want to go and get something, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
Perfect. So keep going.
So I forgot where I was at.
No, you were just talking about your stance in the military and then getting out and going to college.
Yeah, so when I was in college, that's when I started learning about real estate. I gained some interest in real estate from some other Marines I had served with who had talked to me about using their VA loan. They had bought properties at different duty stations, and they were able to rent out those properties. And the value of their properties had increased. So I started doing more research online. Came across Bigger Pockets forums, which is where we actually met, as you mentioned earlier in the video. So once I got into Bigger Pockets, I just started doing a lot of self-research and learning more about real estate, getting interested into how I could get my foot into real estate. And obviously the military helped out a lot with that using my VA loan.
Okay, perfect. So also, just for folks out there too, I know I've brought up the fact that I knew nothing about real estate until I believe about age 27. I'm now 32, been in the game for about 5 years, so I see myself as someone as an expert now. I've still got plenty to learn, but again, I didn't know anything outside of HGTV when it came to real estate before the age of 27. So you being an owner of a mortgage company, when would you say you first knew anything about the mortgage realm? Because I want to just let people know out there that, hey, if you're 20 or you're 21 or if you're 17 or you're 28, it doesn't matter what age you are. The biggest thing is find something that you enjoy and dive deep into it and learn as much as you can. So what age did you really start learning, like, what is a mortgage?
Yeah, so at 22 or 23 is this time frame I'm talking about where I first got interested in real estate and learning about Bigger Pockets. And at that time, I really didn't know anything. But I thought I was learning stuff. But looking back, probably around 25, is when I really started learning that, and that's when I started working at another mortgage company. So interesting story on how I got into the mortgage industry because, as we mentioned, accounting and finance background, wanting to maybe run or own my own company, climb the corporate ladder. I picture myself going to a CPA firm and working my way to the top. Working there 40 years, 50 years, and retiring, happy life.
So for people out there that want to be CPAs, and me, my degree was in mathematics. I actually joined the Marine Corps with the intent, hey, my job is supplying and accounting. I want to be an accountant. I took my first accounting college, class, and I was like, I do not want to be an accountant afterwards. This was actually while I was in the Marine Corps. So for the individuals that are out there, looking to become an accountant, you're talking about climbing that ladder and whatnot. What does that look like for, individuals that are looking to get into that career? Because it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great career, obviously. Very professional type career. So you're going to work your 9 to 5, you're going to work extra hours during busy seasons and just work your way up that corporate ladder, starting out as an associate, becoming a manager, becoming a director, a partner. So it's something that just takes time. And I know you experienced this in the military as well, where you'd have maybe a higher ranking individual, someone who's your boss who doesn't know as much as you, or they're not as good as you, but because of their time in service or their time in rank, you have to climb that structure. And one thing that kind of encouraged me to be an entrepreneur is that I started right at the top. So I didn't have to climb a corporate structure and follow behind someone else who maybe didn't know as much as me or wasn't as hard of a worker as me. I got to build my own thing.
Yeah, and that's great for all the young entrepreneurs or just new entrepreneurs to start with, is you really from day one, you are your boss, right? You don't, yes, hopefully you have mentors, hopefully you have people that you look up to, hopefully people that you lean on for any kind of guidance or motivation and whatnot. But when it comes to owning your own company, you really are the individual that's either going to make it or break it. It's not to say that it's all on you, but at the end of the day, it really is. So when you worked for the current mortgage company or your first mortgage company, what led you to work for that company and then start your own, or what made you decide to start your own?
Yeah, so let me step back and tell the story of getting that first job in the mortgage industry, because I never pictured myself to work for a mortgage company. But as I got this interest in real estate, I wanted to purchase my first house. I wanted to use my VA loan, get some roommates, and stop paying rent. I realized
That actually sounds like of what a lot of us know as house hacking. If you guys aren't aware, I have a ton of videos that talk about using your VA loan, using your FHA loan for a multifamily, or using just a conventional loan, buying a house and renting out the rooms. So you got kind of that concept, even though you probably didn't even know what it was at the time, pretty early on.
Yeah, and so it was just a numbers thing of, hey, I'm going to spend this much on rent with a roommate, or I can buy a house and have a mortgage with a roommate, and they can help cover my rent. And then obviously learning on Bigger Pockets more about the actual term house hack. So I wanted a house hack, and I was in college, and I was working a part-time accounting job at another company. I approached a lady who owned her own small mortgage company about getting qualified for my VA loan, and she said, "You don't qualify right now." And I'm like, "Why? I'm going to have a roommate who's going to help me qualify. He's going to help pay the bills." She's like, "That doesn't count."
And this is actually something that I get asked a lot. I would actually assume that you get asked more than I do, just being a mortgage broker. But just let people out there know, what type. At the time you weren't, experienced in the mortgage field, so you didn't know. There's a lot of people out there that aren't, experienced in the mortgage field. I myself included. I got all the way to an appraisal being completed before my loan was denied because I was not offered rehirement at my current job. So when they did an employment verification, I essentially got my loan denied. So when it comes to veterans specifically, what type of income were you trying to include, and why wasn't it included?
So I was in college using my GI Bill. When you use your GI Bill, you get a housing stipend, a housing allowance, plus your college is paid for. And I was working a part-time job, about 20 hours a week, doing accounting, and then I was going to have some roommates. Well, unfortunately, my part-time job didn't have 2-year history, so I couldn't count that because it was variable income. My roommate income, I couldn't count that because it was I was trying to buy a single family house, and you can't count roommates in your same dwelling. And then my GI Bill income, even though it's a housing allowance, which I think is, the dumbest thing ever, can't use a housing allowance to qualify for housing. You can only use it to go rent a place out. So I can't use the GI Bill housing allowance as qualifying income for a mortgage either, because it's not expected to continue for 3 years.
Okay. So what happened next?
So I was trying to get qualified for the VA loan. She said, "Well, you can't qualify right now," but instead offered me a job. So she needed help with accounting, admin type functions in her company, and she saw some potential in me and actually offered me a job. So I went for a loan, got denied, got a job instead. And the goal there was that she'd be able to help me start working full time as I'm finishing up college so that I could qualify for a house and purchase my first house. So I started working for that company, was working there for a few months, and the owner kept encouraging me to get my loan officer license. So remember, at this time, I'm still just doing accounting and admin stuff. I'm learning about the mortgage industry from the corporate side of it. And I'm like, I'm not a salesperson. I don't want to get my mortgage license. I don't cold call people. I don't door knock. I'm not good in, networking events. So I always pictured myself behind the desk, computer, punching numbers kind of person. After a little bit of time, I decided, okay, I'll try this out. I'll get my license because I was on Bigger Pockets more. I was learning more about real estate investing, and I wanted to get some extra capital so I could purchase more properties. And so knowing that, hey, you get a good commission for mortgage loan officers as well as real estate agents, and that could help propel me. And I knew that I had friends my age who were about to start buying houses. I'm 25, 26 at this time, so a lot of people are going to be getting into the market, and I could help a few people out. But at that time, it still wasn't my goal to be a full-time loan officer or mortgage broker. I just wanted to do an accounting job, climb the corporate ladder, and do a couple loans on the side for some extra commissions.
So at this time, and I assume that the individual that hired you had no idea what would become of, Tyler Hodgson and the future company of NXT Mortgage. Even you at that mindset and that time, didn't necessarily think, hey, mortgage is going to be my forever. Mortgage is going to, make me widely successful. And just to give, folks a little bit of a snippet and a little bit of fast forward, you're, give me how long your company has been in business now, just to give people a little bit of insight. And what are you looking like this year for production-wise, and how many loan officers do you have?
So started NXT Mortgage officially in December of 2016. So we're coming up on our 5-year anniversary later this year. It started out with myself and a co-founder who was my roommate at the time. So we kind of started the in the bedroom, in the house business, and built it from there to now we have an office space, obviously, where we're recording this video. And my personal production, last year I was one of the top mortgage brokers in the state and in the country. I did 216 units, which I typically track units more so than volume, but that was about 61 million in volume. Obviously, loan officers do a little more volume numbers-wise than real estate agents. And then as a company, we're close to 30 loan officers now, 30 team members total, including support and operations staff. And that's just steadily been growing over the last 3 years. We brought on our first team member in 2018. And so each year, each couple months, we're adding more loan officers and continuing to grow that team. And that's always kind of been my goal, is to grow the team and not make it just about me and how many loans I could do.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is 2018 to now we're in the middle of 2021. You went from, one individual coming on board to now you have close to 30 loan officers, correct? So, impressive growth when it comes to, potentially one of the largest mortgage companies in the state of Texas. So give us a little, insight in terms of what was your biggest motivating factor or drive when it came to, most people aren't going to go out today and have a mortgage company tomorrow with 30 loan officers. You've got to consistently put in the time and the work every single day.
Yeah, so I've always been self-motivated to do my best, be very competitive, whether that's in sports, in school, grades, in the military. So I've always been very competitive, and I think that's just really helped me in business as well, because I want to be the best. I want to always accomplish more and do more. But I guess from the beginning of NXT Mortgage, I decided that it wasn't going to be just about me and my personal production. I know that I'm limited in what I can do and my time. And obviously, as I was learning about real estate, I wanted to build more passive streams of income. You talk about this a lot on your channel. And I knew that, sure, I can go out and close 10 loans a month or 20 loans a month or 30 loans a month, but how long would I have to do that forever, always closing loans myself? And really the opportunity of being a loan officer to me was something that I didn't know existed until it happened to me. And I really wanted to provide that opportunity to other people as well, because there's so much freedom and flexibility, make very good income. It's just generated so much opportunity for me that I want to share that with other people. So from the very beginning, I wanted to build a company where I could bring in new individuals who have no mortgage experience, don't even know they want to do mortgages, and help them become successful loan officers as well. And with that, I have more reach of my company, my brand. We can help more clients. I can help more loan officers enjoy their work, rather than working for a stuffy old mortgage company. When you think of working for a mortgage company, you don't think fun or fulfilling career. So I'm really trying to change the game on that, and that's kind of been the whole purpose of NXT Mortgage from the beginning.
Okay, great. So for all the folks out there, because I get a lot of people reaching out, maybe I should get my real estate license. Maybe I should get my real estate license. Like, I tell my story. I talk about, me acquiring properties, me and my portfolio. Oh, well, maybe the only route to success is getting my real estate license. Not a lot of people necessarily hear about getting your mortgage license. So in terms of, not necessarily starting your own mortgage company, but is it difficult to get your, and obviously you being licensed only in the state of Texas, you do network with, mortgage officers across the country, and in the state of Texas, getting a real estate license is the most difficult state to do so. But how hard would you say is getting your mortgage license?
So it's easier than getting your real estate license. The education requirements is less. I think it's like 24 hours of coursework. Real estate's maybe like 160 or 100, something like that. So less, just a couple days of class, and you can get your mortgage loan officer license. Obviously, you have to pass a test. They do background, credit check, all those types of things to get your license. But it's actually relatively easy to get licensed. And
just like, real estate, once you do get your license, it isn't necessarily all fun and games and easy to start. Were you just, day one closing loans, or, for me, my first real estate transaction took place 5 months after I got licensed. How long did it take you to kind of get that ball rolling?
Yeah, so it was about 5 months as well, because I got licensed at the beginning of 2016, and in that first year, I closed about 12 transactions. And
So also there, so 12 transactions in your first full year.
yep,
And last year you closed
216.
216.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've increased production a little
Yeah, I
bit.
went like 12, 24, 48, 128.
Is that when you met me?
And then 212.
Is that when you met me?
216?
When you started having
No,
a little...
I met you when I closed like 24.
Okay.
I met you in 2017.
Okay, so moving on from there, when it comes to NXT, starting it, and I know the story in terms of starting, essentially in your bedroom, right, with your good friend. What financial obligations what does it come with when you start your own mortgage company?
Yeah, so I guess when a lot of people probably hear, oh, I own a mortgage company, they probably think I have millions and millions of dollars, like I'm lending out my own personal money to do mortgages. I'm not a bank, and I don't have billions of dollars. But when we started NXT Mortgage, obviously we're a mortgage broker, so we're not lending our own money. Instead, we're partnering with lenders who don't work with consumers directly, and we're shopping around between those lenders to help our clients find the best loan, best rates, best options for them. And then we get paid a commission from the lender to close that loan for the lender. So the startup costs were very minimal. So we started with $5,000 of my own money, and that was money that I had saved up from closing those 12 loans in that first year. So I had only been a loan officer for a year when I decided to leave that other company and start my own brokerage. So I had about $5,000 that I set aside for the company, and that bought a laptop, bought software, started purchasing things and using money, and really everything's been self-generated since then. So we haven't taken any loans or had any outside investors for equity. We've all ran on our operations of our own revenue generated.
And so fast forward to now, in terms of your initial startup expenses being $5,000. Just out of curiosity, how far would $5,000 in expenses go with NXT now? Because I know obviously, and most people will know, as you grow a business, as you continue to leverage individuals, bring on staff and whatnot, your gross volume or your production or your just team's production, maybe on the real estate side of things, your transactions and your houses closed will increase. But with that, expenses are going to increase too now. So would $5,000 get you very far with, where NXT is sitting now?
I think we spent about $5,000 in the time it takes to do this interview.
So as you guys know, you all have to start somewhere. And the biggest thing with these interviews is I'm really wanting to interview people that, didn't inherit a company, didn't, have something given to them where they're, hey, look at me, I have this. It's more or less, I'm wanting to interview people. I know I just finished interviewing, and we did a video about a month ago with an individual that had no experience in investing, and then he went off and he invested and purchased 3 duplexes. Your story is the story of, hey, dropping out of college, my first year of college, joining the Marine Corps, and now you own one of potentially the largest mortgage companies in the state of Texas. So when it came to growing NXT to what it is today, at what point did you really see the most amount of growth, and what would you contribute that growth to? Was it, bringing on supporting staff? Was it, the individuals that you surrounded yourself with just, motivating people and driven people, or was it, just your self-motivation and drive?
Yeah, so I think it's been pretty steady and methodical how we've grown. I don't feel like there's been one specific time that has been greater than others, but overall, definitely bringing on additional support staff, building a good culture for the team, encouraging everyone, and having good training and just a good team vibe. That's really helped us grow. To young entrepreneurs out there, there's a balance between, hey, I need to make sure I've got enough funds to pay my own bills, enough funds to pay the company bills, and when do I hire my next person? When do I hire, like every week now I'm thinking like, all right, when are we ready to hire the next person? When's our revenue and our profitability in line to hire the next person, and when does our production warrant that next hire? So at the end of the day, like I said earlier in the video, I'm limited in what I can do. My hours per week are limited. So to really build something great and scalable, you've got to be able to hire other people. You've got to be able to motivate them, and really make them feel their worth and their value of building something as well, because you want everyone bought in and you want everybody all in. And I feel like at our company, that's our biggest driving factor, is that everyone on the team has that common goal and that common vision to be a great mortgage company.
Yeah, and I think this ties back into real estate investing as well when we talk about leverage. I think, me being in the business for about 4 years, now, and you being about a year ahead of me being in the business for about 5, I'm getting my real estate company to the point where I need to build that structured foundation and leverage other individuals because my self-production is essentially at a cap. Do you feel like you are maybe potentially or are you potentially at a cap right now in terms of your self-production? Yeah, so that's again leverage. You're scaling back your production, and my hope is next year that I'm able to scale back my production on the real estate side of things. Is the intent to continue to further grow your company, correct?
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, if you have 30 loan officers that are producing, at an average rate, they're going to be able to far outproduce what you personally can yourself, correct?
Unless I build a time machine.
There you go. Perfect. So moving on to another question regarding NXT Mortgage. What would you say is, the big picture for NXT moving forward?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm just competitive. Like, I want to be number one at something. I want to be great. I want to build something awesome. But people ask me, how long are you going to grow? How big is your team going to be? Is it 30 loan officers? Is it 50? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? Do I want to be the Rocket Mortgage, the United Wholesale Mortgage, these large companies? And I don't know the answer to that question. Just like if you would ask me 5 years ago, did I know I was going to own my own mortgage company? The answer at that time was no. So I think I'm just always moving forward, but and things just kind of happen over time. So I want to build a company until a point where I feel I'm comfortable, like we don't want to grow anymore because we've got a good thing going. But part of the goal of the company is to allow more people opportunities to be loan officers, to have a great place to work. And as long as we can keep our culture and our team feel that we have right now that's very strong, then I could see us continuing to grow until it gets to a point when I feel like, hey, I want to slow down.
Perfect. So another thing, a lot of my channel is surrounded by real estate investing. Obviously, the entire premise of this interview with you is just a real estate success story in itself. Has your success with NXT Mortgage, even from the get-go when you're talking about, hey, I'm still, a brand new mortgage officer to, owning your own company, has that helped you when it comes to real estate investing?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you and I both come from a similar background of working a W-2 salary job and then getting our license, mortgage and real estate, to have some side income, some side hustle. And that's really what propelled us to be able to purchase our first few properties, get into the real estate investing game and start building that passive income, start building that equity in those properties. So owning the mortgage company has definitely helped me in that sense. And even just getting my mortgage license, like you don't have to own your own company to earn some extra income on the side to help invest in real estate. So I've been able to grow my real estate portfolio. I've done a handful of different deals. I mean, you know about pretty much all the deals I've done. So feel free to ask me any specific questions and I'm happy to talk about those. But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, being able to build the passive income while my active income is building the mortgage company, that's been a driving factor in me being able to purchase a lot of real estate in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, so just a quick tidbit for people and for viewers out there. This is also coming from a mortgage professional as well. I used to be a high school teacher. He used to be a CPA. Make sure you consult with your local mortgage company or mortgage broker, a good friend that is a mortgage officer when it comes to looking to get qualified for a mortgage. Because, for instance, I was a high school teacher. I acquired my duplex. I then acquired my single family. I even then tried to acquire another single family. Unfortunately, you gave me the bad news that buying an $80,000 car at the time was not the smartest decision when it comes to your debt-to-income ratio. At that point is really when I decided to jump ship and go into owning my business completely. But when it comes to you and your situation, you were a CPA, you had that as your W-2 income, you were doing mortgage on the side, and then you were able to acquire some properties, but you made a point at some point to decide to switch full-time to a completely 1099 or self-employed business, which then requires you to wait some 2 years tax returns to make sure you can qualify. So for all the folks out there, what would you suggest, or advice, I guess, in terms of finding that correct time to jump ship?
Yeah, so I think everyone's obviously a little different in their path and what they're comfortable with. I know some people who just say, "Hey, I'm quitting my job and I'm starting this new venture, this new business, this new, being a real estate agent or being a loan officer," and they just have to wait 2 years. You better earn a lot of income in those first 2 years and then be able to do it. We had the benefit of working that other job, transitioning into it to sort of build some of that history, build our pipeline, and start getting that consistency before we decided to jump ship. Once my loan officer income was exceeding my salary income, that's when I was more comfortable with making the jump. And I realized I'm making a lot more money doing loan officer work in less time than I am doing accounting work. So during that 2-year period when I was in the transition, I had some overlap from the salary job. So it was really only about a year for me from the time I quit my W-2 job to being able to qualify for traditional mortgages again. So in that interim period, you can still invest. I mean, you can invest your money in stock market, cryptocurrencies. You could invest in non-traditional real estate investments. So that's syndications, commercial deals. You could do a flip with some hard money loans. So you can do some things that maybe not your traditional, just conventional 30-year fixed rental property.
Okay. And then also when it comes to, all the folks out there that, may start, doing mortgage on the side, they're working their full-time job, or maybe they're going to do real estate on the side, working their full-time job. When it comes to, that point of quitting your job, and then they become 1099 or self-employed, I know a lot of people out there, and you don't personally do taxes on the side, but you do own, an entire company that does taxes. And I'll kind of give you a segue here. What's a good set of advice for individuals that are, wanting to be completely self-employed, and even if it's like, for me, I did Uber before. Well, with Uber, one of the biggest things was, hey, I can deduct a ton of my expenses. So what would you say for folks out there, because, you and I deal with this every single day, self-employed individuals where you go and look at their last 2 years of tax returns, and what do you see?
Yeah, if you're trying to buy real estate and buy more properties, you need to make sure that your mortgage individual and your accounting individual are talking or on the same page, and you better not file a tax return until you've let your mortgage broker review your draft return to make sure, see what things you're claiming on your income, make sure you're claiming all your income, what kind of expenses and deductions are you taking, and how's that going to impact your qualifying for properties in the next year, because once you file those taxes, that's what you've got for the next year. And so just having that communication between the two, because you could write off a lot of items and have a lot of expenses and still qualify for a mortgage if you've got enough income overall and not a lot of other debts. But a lot of times with self-employed people, we try to minimize our tax burden, so we write off a lot of expenses, but then you go to qualify for a mortgage, and to the underwriter, you don't make that much money because you write it all off. So it's about finding that balance. And I think if your goal is to buy more real estate and you're self-employed, you need to make sure that you're talking to your mortgage broker and your CPA in constant communication about where those numbers are at, so you don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, like you said, make sure your CPA and your mortgage broker are along the same lines in terms of conversation with where you're at. I know when I was completing my first year of self-employment, that was going to be included down the road for me to be able to qualify for future mortgages. I was having Tyler, luckily in this situation, he was a CPA and a mortgage broker at the same time. So I consulted my one individual regarding, hey, am I writing off too much? Am I writing off too little? Where I fall into that category, because we all know we don't want to pay taxes, but at the end of the day, when it comes to qualifying for mortgages, you do have to show profitability within your company if you are self-employed. If you don't, for instance, if I drove Uber for a whole year and I made $60,000 or $70,000, making, through Uber, but then I wrote off $40,000 or $50,000, that, $10,000 to $20,000 of profit is surely not going to be enough for me to qualify, as one of my 2 years on my tax returns. Perfect. So for all the folks out there that, may be interested in getting their mortgage, license, or starting, their side hustle doing Uber, or, starting, getting their real estate license, because there's really not one true path to success. We've got two people here that have completely different stories. Now, we do connect on a lot of different aspects, but I personally could never sit behind a computer all day and punch numbers when it comes to, entering people's credit scores and running people's credit scores and getting them the best mortgage they possibly can. I'd prefer to be out there physically showing homes. To me, it's a dream job. But for all the folks that are out there looking to get started with something, do you have any words of advice or any kind of suggestions for them? Maybe, sleeping in till 11 a.m. and, staying out every single night, or what do you got for folks?
Well, so since you just dissed mortgage people and tried to make real estate sound better, let me give my mortgage pitch. I couldn't be showing people houses on weekends and nights. When they're off work, you got to drive across town an hour this way, an hour that way.
You just have a Tesla that will do it for you, right?
I just need my laptop and I can go wherever I want to go. So one thing I love about my job and my profession is that I can work from wherever, whenever. So I can take my laptop and work from the beach. And that flexibility has been great for me on the mortgage side.
So with that being said, because I know, your story, being in the business 5 years, to get a little off topic here, and to make people drool, I guess, a little bit, how often would you say, out of 365 days, how many days in a year as a, owner of a mortgage company, been in the business 5 years, how many out of 365 days are you out of town or out of your physical, home of residence?
About 90 to 100.
Okay.
I would include my work trips with those. So if I go to a conference or some other, destination for something, I'm including that in kind of all my travel time. But if I do have a work trip, I try to piggyback some fun off of that, and stay an extra couple of days, stay a weekend, things like that. To kind of segue back to your previous question, though, it's like I can travel 100 days a year, but I'm not on vacation 100 days a year. I'm actually working 365 days a year.
Yeah, I don't think any entrepreneur is, taking days off, or, if work is available to do, regardless where you are in the country or in the world, I know I've traveled internationally and I've woken up at 2 a.m. in Australia to reply to some emails when it comes to real estate, even though I was, on vacation and traveling. So
exactly.
You're out of town a quarter of the time, but we both know that you're still working, correct?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you want to get to where you truly want to get to, it's going to take a ton of sacrifice. So going back to the question, what kind of advice would you have folks that are looking to get started really in any kind of self-employed realm of business?
So you really want to think about what's your goal, what's your motivation, what's your end game. But as I mentioned with my story, and I'm sure your story, you don't really know exactly what the end game is. I don't know what the path to get there is, but I'm just going to kind of move in this direction, and I might end up over there. I might end up over here. So you've really got to want that, and you've got to wholeheartedly want it. And it's got to be something that's a passion to where it's pretty much a hobby. It's what you like to do in your spare time. If you don't like to work or build your business or pursue this interest in your spare time, then you're not going to be cut out to make it, because you're going to get tired and there's going to be hard times and you're not going to have enough drive and passion to get through it. So I kind of look at building my business as sort of like a video game. I used to play a lot of video games in middle school and high school, and I always wanted to be the best. I always want to be the top level. I always wanted to get the highest achievements. And so now when I'm building my business, it's like every obstacle I face is like a new boss challenge. It's a new level. I'm now at another level. I'm gathering achievements. I'm gathering awards. I'm building the bank account, the gold or whatever it is. So it's kind of like a video game to me. And it's sort of just those little bits of motivation and success as I get them continue to drive me to do more. So I don't mind, working at night, coming up with ideas, spending a weekend working on things or catching up or getting ahead. And so I really do kind of just live what I work, and I enjoy it. I mean, there's times when you get tired, you get burnt out, but you just push through those times. And in the end, when you look back, you'll be thankful that you did.
Perfect. So I actually, I have this conversation with a lot of people regarding, truly finding something that I love, and I wake up every single morning excited to, put in the work that day. I can tell you firsthand, the Marines was great. I should say the Marines was great looking back on. When I was in the Marine Corps myself, it was very difficult to wake up at times. Obviously we had to. So getting up, putting in the work, and seeing the rest of my friends at the same age going to college and having fun was certainly not easy. And then going to college like they all tell us to do, getting my graduate degree, becoming a high school teacher, and having that feeling of like, is this it? Is this what I'm doing for the next 30 years? And just not feeling fulfilled. I did coach wrestling, and I got and fortunately enough, a lot of people don't even get this aspect of their career where, wrestling and coaching wrestling for me was my passion, was something that I love to do, and I haven't been able to do it the last couple of years, so I've certainly missed that. But I was still a teacher the majority of the day. So I got a little bit of fun or a little bit of passion, in my day. But the teaching side for me was like, I need something more. So, fortunately enough, I, trip and fell into real estate. In your situation, did you, love being a CPA? Was it something you were passionate about? And how early on when it came to becoming a mortgage officer were you like, okay, this is my passion. I love it. I'm excited to wake up today, and I can't wait to continue to do what I'm doing?
Yeah, so I'd say I never really felt fulfilled in any of my previous jobs, even in even going to school, in high school, college, Marine Corps, any other jobs I worked before. I still always did my best. I still always worked hard and I excelled. But I just never really felt passionate about it or enjoyed it that much. Looking back on it, very thankful for all the different jobs I had, very thankful for everything I learned and experienced in the Marines, but definitely the Marine Corps, to the extreme. When I was in, like, everyone's very, very negative. Everybody wants to get out. Everyone's, bitching and complaining. And that was just kind of the nature of it. Looking back, if I joined now, I'd probably be a lot more positive and make the best of it. But just never really had that fulfillment until, starting my own company and building my own company. Even when I first got my mortgage loan officer license, like, I wasn't really that passionate about it then, because at that point I didn't really know, and I was just starting out, so I'm new, I'm learning.
Well, at that point, you were still working for another company, correct?
And I was still working for another company. So I'm self-employed in the sense that it's a 100% commission sales type role, but I also had my accounting portion of the job, and so I was working for myself, but I wasn't. And at that point, I think it changes when you get from the point of like working because you just need to pay the bills. So you get to some income level where, hey, I just need to work because I've got to get to the next level. I need the promotion. I need the raise. I've got to be able to afford these necessities in life. And then once you start to pass that threshold and you're generating income because you're just excited about it, you're passionate about it, you're fulfilled in what you're doing, that's where I feel like money just follows. Like, you do what you enjoy to do and money just follows. So I felt like everything prior to that was just kind of me trying to get to the next level, me trying to learn and gain new experiences, but I never really felt excited about what I did.
All right. So to piggyback on that just a little bit for, a lot of folks out there that feel like they, maybe just waking up and going to bed, and because I've felt absolutely that way before. Yes, I was fortunate, kind of both of us were fortunate to find, something really out the gate in terms of what we wound up being successful in and what we enjoy. There's plenty of, I did Uber and I did a couple other side jobs. I was a, server in college and whatnot. So I had to dabble a little bit when it comes to finding something I was truly passionate about. But, when it comes to opening your own business or starting your own business or finding a side hustle, if you know early on that you're struggling to find, your passion or struggling to find your interested in it, I wouldn't necessarily say quit, but I would, absolutely not get deterred either to say, hey, I tried this, I didn't like it, I'm just going to stick with my job for forever, because there will be something out there, I believe, for everyone that you find and that you absolutely love to do. And it's corny and cheesy when they say it, but, the whole you'll never work another day in your life if you find, what you're truly passionate and love. Well, I'm going to work probably until I die because I found what I'm truly passionate about. And to me, it's truly not work. So to close up today's interview for you, give your name, company, just a quick shout out. I know we have some folks in Texas and folks that I've met off of my YouTube channel that are local here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Just give a quick rundown on how you potentially could help. I know you're not licensed in any other state, so unfortunately, if you're looking to refinance or get another mortgage in another state, you technically can't help them, but you could, correct?
Yeah, so obviously Tyler Hodgson, and thanks again for having me, Casey. My company is NXT Mortgage. We're a Texas mortgage brokerage. We're one of the biggest brokerages in the state, soon to be number one, hopefully. So we originate all residential mortgages, no commercial mortgages. And if you're out of state, you're looking to purchase, you're looking to refinance, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to point you in the right direction. And I can refer you to colleagues in other states, other mortgage brokers that I've connected with that I know personally. If I don't know someone in your state personally, then I'll let you know, but I'll still try to connect you with someone. And there's no incentive for me to do that. We don't get any kind of referral fees or kickbacks or anything on the mortgage side. So if I recommend you to someone, it's because I'm truly trying to get you to the best person. Yeah.
Perfect. So again, appreciate you guys watching this video. I do want to give a quick word of advice. Do not use a large bank. Do not use a large company. Make sure you reach out, whether it be in the comment section down below, and I can personally connect with Tyler and get you a mortgage broker where you are locally. A mortgage broker, if you don't understand the difference, just give a quick caveat here. What's the difference between, like a Chase Bank and a mortgage brokerage?
Yeah, so a mortgage broker is someone who works on your behalf. They're your advocate. And instead of being one company with one set of rates and one set of loan products, we work with many different lenders to help shop around, find you the best rates, the best loans. And really it's about education, advice, making sure you're on the right path, especially if you're looking to purchase multiple properties. You want to make sure you're working with someone who's a professional, who's licensed. So a lot of big banks, the loan officers there aren't even actually licensed. They don't have continuing education requirements. They just work for the bank. So we have a lot more flexibility, a lot more options, and we're here to get you the best deal. We don't get paid unless we close your loan, and so we don't get paid unless we help you get the best deal. And the statistics show that people who work with a mortgage broker save more money than those who go directly to a bank or one of the mega lenders, one of the online lenders who have these huge marketing budgets. Plus, you're supporting your local community. You're working with someone local. You're building relationships. You're building connections. And, I think that's one of the most important things about it as well.
Great. So again, guys, make sure you use a mortgage company that's local to you or local in your state. Also, make sure, my caveat here, make sure you use a professional real estate agent. And if you do need someone, I obviously can connect you with as well. If you do have any questions for Tyler or myself, make sure to leave them down in the comment section below. Either I or him will get back to you. And stay tuned for the next episode.
We need an hour. We need more Watson.